Hey there, and welcome. So, you're thinking about starting a family. That's amazing. But that very first week can be, well, a little confusing, right? You're not actually pregnant yet, but in a way, the clock has already started ticking. So, let's pull back the curtain and break down what's really going on during those first 7 days. So, let's just kick things off with a big question. When does pregnancy actually begin? I'm going to bet the answer is not what you think, and it's totally key to understanding everything else we're about to talk about. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to cover pregnancy's surprising start date, get into what your menstrual cycle is actually doing, meet the hormones that are running the show, talk about how you can prepare your body, and finish up with a real talk about age and fertility. Think of it as your roadmap for this super important first week. Okay, let's dive right in. First up, pregnancy's surprising start date. And yeah, like the slide says, this whole journey kicks off a little earlier than most of us realize. So here it is, the big reveal. Even though you won't even conceive for another 2 weeks or so, your pregnancy is officially counted from the very first day of your last period. So if you're trying to conceive, that date, that's the most important one to circle on your calendar right now. Now, you might be thinking, wait, that makes no sense. And you're not wrong, it seems illogical. But it all comes down to one thing, practicality. I mean, most of us can remember the first day of our last period, right? But pinpointing the exact moment of ovulation, that's way, way trickier. So it's just a handy medical shortcut that everyone uses. And while we're talking about timing, let's just set some real-world expectations. Only about 20% of couples, that's 1 in 5, get pregnant in their very first month of trying. For most couples, about 75% of them, it can take up to 6 months. The big takeaway here? Try to be patient with yourself and the process. It's totally normal if it doesn't happen right away. So how does all this timing connect to what's happening inside your body? Well, that brings us perfectly to our next section, understanding your menstrual cycle and what's actually going on in there during these first 7 days. Okay, so during your period, your body is shedding its uterine lining. But think of it less as an ending and more like a spring cleaning for your uterus. It's clearing out the old to make way for a brand new, plush and welcoming lining, just in case a pregnancy is on the horizon. It's a total reset. And get this, your body is an incredible multitasker. Even while your period might still be happening, 2 super important things are already starting up. In one of your ovaries, a tiny egg is starting to mature inside its little sac called a follicle. And at the exact same time, your uterus is already starting to build up that new lining. Pretty cool, right? So who's the director behind this whole complex production? That brings us to our next stars, hormones. You can think of them as the chemical messengers that are calling all the shots and making sure this whole monthly performance goes off without a hitch. And would you believe it, the command center for this whole operation, it's your brain. To be specific, a tiny little thing called the pituitary gland starts pumping out the hormones that basically send a text message down to your ovaries saying, all right, ladies, it's go time. Get those eggs ready. And here's the all-star team. It's kind of like a hormonal relay race. First up, FSH gets the race started by telling the egg follicles to grow. As they grow, they grab the baton and produce estrogen, which is in charge of rebuilding that uterine lining. Then LH comes sprinting in with a big surge to trigger the main event, ovulation. And finally, progesterone takes the last leg, making that lining super thick and cozy for implantation. It's an amazing hormonal dance. Okay, now that we've geeked out on the biology, let's get practical. What can you actually do right now? This next part is all about how to prepare your body, or, as we're calling it, packing your bags, for the big journey. The first and honestly most important thing to pack is folic acid. It's absolutely crucial for a baby's development in those very early weeks, often before you even know you're pregnant. The official recommendation is to start taking a 400 microgram supplement every single day as soon as you start trying. And folic acid isn't flying solo. It's got a whole team of B vitamins backing it up. You've got B1 and B2, which help with ovulation and preventing miscarriage. B6 is a total rock star for keeping your sex hormones in balance. And B12 is folic acid's best buddy, working together for that super important early development. A good prenatal vitamin will have all of these covered for you. You know, it's also a really smart move to schedule a little pre-conception chat with your doctor. They can do a quick blood test to make sure you're immune to rubella, screen for any infections, and help you figure out if you're at a healthy weight. A BMI between 19 and 24 is kind of the sweet spot because being over or underweight can sometimes mess with ovulation.
And listen, you don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Seriously, small changes can make a huge difference. Cutting back on alcohol is a great start for both of you, and getting some moderate exercise like a brisk walk for 30 minutes 5 times a week, that's fantastic for helping to keep your hormones happy and regular. All right, let's get into our final section, and it's a big one that's on a lot of people's minds: age, fertility, and you. This is all about just understanding your own personal timeline.
So here's a look at how things generally change over time. A woman is born with every single egg she'll ever have. Fertility tends to be at its absolute peak between ages 20 and 24. Then, in the early 30s, it starts to gradually decline, and that dip gets a bit steeper after 35. This is really all about egg quality. By the time a woman is in her 40s, a higher percentage of her remaining eggs might have chromosomal issues.
But, and this is super important, this isn't just about the woman's biological clock. It really does take two. While men can produce sperm their whole lives, we now know that men over 35 can sometimes take longer to get their partner pregnant. Why? Because their sperm is more likely to have a bit of DNA damage. So the key thing to remember is that age is a factor for both partners. Whew! Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the most important things to remember for this very first week. 1. Your journey officially starts on day 1 of your period. 2. Your body is already hard at work preparing both the egg and your uterus. 3. Now is the perfect time to start taking folic acid and focusing on a healthy lifestyle. And maybe most importantly, 4. Be patient with the process and understand your own timeline. So we'll leave you with this final thought. The road to becoming a parent is really a process of preparation, not just waiting around. After everything we've just talked about, what feels like the most important first step for you? Thanks so much for joining me.